Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are here for your listening pleasure and enjoyment twice a week, every week. And we're coming up on 5 years, Ken. It's a milestone, right?
But it absolutely, it really is.
Yeah, and 500 episodes. So we're really on a great clip. Everything's cranking out. We've got videos, we've got audios, we've got what are called blogcasts. If you want to read the highlights of an interview like we're going to do today, you folks are all going to have that at the ready on my website, fretzin.com. And I'm just so excited. So I always talk about superstars coming on my show, and then when I actually get one, like Ken here, then I can get it really excited about it. Everyone's a superstar, but there are people who are legends, and Ken is a legend. Everybody, and let's start off, Ken, with your quote of the show, and this is your quote because you're a legend. You get to have your own quotes. We grow law firms. That's your quote. So welcome to the show, and tell everybody why you grow law firms.
Yeah. So I'm a retired lawyer. I've been retired about 15 years, and I grew and sold two multi-million-dollar law firms before 52. So I've learned the ways what to do and what not to do, and I've kept up with things that's changed because things are a lot different than were 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I run a lot of masterminds, so I've got over 100 lawyers across the nation that I meet with 3 times a year for 2 days, and we discuss what's working, what's not working, and management and marketing. Because it's great to get the cases, but you got to be able to handle them once you get them.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and we talk about all that on this show, which is, and we're going to get into some specifics today on some things I want to ask you about. But from a standpoint of your background, I mean, people would love to hear, how you sold firms. I mean, that's the dream of many lawyers out there that are building these firms. What's one thing you can say about how you set a firm up to be sold successfully?
Yeah, I think it's all about having it systematized. What I mean by that is you want to sell something where you've got a definable and a pipeline of cases coming in every month that's predictable, I guess is a better word for it.
Yeah.
When you can do that and you've got a system set in to how to work these cases, how to onboard people, how to keep what metrics you want to keep up with, what are the benchmarks, what are your KPIs, key performance indicators, so that you can measure success, and if things start going down, you can bring it back up. So
Yeah.
when you got the whole machine, that looks very enticing to people. Where if you just got a thing that depends solely on you, you got a problem, because then it's hard to sell. So you want to get a business. You really want to get a law firm set up to where you could be gone for 3 or 4 months and it's still churning out the dollar. It's getting cases in on a fluid way. It's producing income in a fluid way to where it's not all dependent on you.
Yeah, right on. And everybody, just so you know, you're listening to Ken Hardison. He's the founder and president of PILMA. It's the Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association, and you've been just at this a long time, really helping to make millionaire lawyers and make successful lawyers. I'm doing it, I think, in a very different way. But how did you decide to sell the businesses and then rotate into working with lawyers and helping them to make money and be their best versions?
Well, selling the business, I think anytime you start a business, the end game would be to sell it. I mean, that's just me. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I've had numerous businesses over the years, not just law firms, and I build them up, and then I sell them, and then I go build another one. How I got into this was by accident. I sold my first law firm and moved from Raleigh, North Carolina, to Myrtle Beach. Was going to retire. 6 months of playing golf and fishing every day, I got tired. I got just miserable. And I still had lawyers calling me and, emailing me, how can I do this? How can I do that? And my wife said, Ken, you need to start charging for this.
You're a nice guy, but enough with it.
Yeah. It'd be all right if it's like 1 a week, but I was getting probably 4 to 6 inquiries a week. And so, because I grew it real fast, and, which is a whole nother story we can talk about another day. But I just really started a mastermind, and then I don't know. I was a big Dan Kennedy follower. Probably nobody knows who I'm talking about, but he's like a genius when it comes to marketing. And I studied Jay Abraham, and they both told me, he says, you've got wealth of knowledge. You need to transform this into a real business. And so I did. And, I made some mistakes just like I did when I practiced law, but now we got it. And it's basically a subscription business. I got two levels, one $600 a month, and then I got the masterminds $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And I do some, coaching on the side to help them. And we do a Q&A. We do a magazine every month. We do a lot of different things. We do a lot of trainings like marketing roundtables, management roundtables, intake training, which I think is very important. A lot of lawyers lose a lot of money on intake. So yeah, it happened by accident, and it really got into it. And I said, man, and so it's turned into a multi-million-dollar business, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're sort of like my hero because I'm coaching and training. That's my primary thing, and I do run some rainmaker roundtables on the side and put rainmakers in a room and let them work. But I when you've been doing it as long as you have and as successfully as you have, I sort of look up to folks like you to say, hey, what can I learn? What can you teach me? Because I just want to continue to add value for people and make sure that they're happy and that they're successful. And it sounds like you've got that in spades.
well, that's the key to it. I mean, what I found in practicing law is the same thing what I'm doing now. If you really are sincere about wanting to help people and you're not doing it just for the money, like money could be number two or three, you're going to get business because people, I've always said, I tell lawyers this, they're not going to care. Your staff's not going to care until they know you really care about them. Your clients are not going to really care until they know you really care about them. If you're not in it just for the dollar. But what I found when I had that attitude, that mindset, I made a lot of money.
Yeah,
it came because people, especially lawyers, they can see through the bullshit. I mean, they can tell somebody's just, blowing smoke. But I really do try to help. I help a lot of lawyers. They say, I can't afford you. I just give them a lot of free advice on initial call just because I like helping them.
yeah.
And,
Well, I've had a mantra for years that goes something like this. You get, and this could be for anyone. I don't care if you're a lawyer up the street or a local, retail. You get in life, you get what you want out of life by helping enough other people get what they want out of life.
yeah,
I think that sounds like what you're in the middle of.
yeah, it is. And it's fulfilling. And
Yeah,
that's another reason I got into this. I just was bored. I could retire now. I mean, I'm not rich, but I can live comfortable. And
sure.
but I'd be bored shitless.
You and I are of like mind. I'm 54, so you've got a few years on me, but I just can't imagine not doing what I'm doing and not helping people and just like I love to fish and I enjoy golf and I enjoy pickle, but to do it every day and to not be engaged with people where you can add value and help them in their lives, that doesn't seem like anything I would ever do.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, that's for and my dad retired. You don't know this, but my late great Larry the lawyer retired at 65 to the day. He worked it out. Like he listened to books on tape and he went down to Marco Island, Florida, and he did his thing. But I did notice his brain get a little melty, a little soft because he wasn't using it in the same way that he had practicing. And I think you got to have maybe, if you retire, okay, maybe do 10 hours a week or do something to keep your mind active. Because I think at one point he was doing like 2 hours of solitaire a day. And I did the math for him on that. And it was a lot of solitaire.
yeah, yeah.
But that's it. At least I guess he enjoyed it. So let's get into the weeds on something I want to talk to you about, which is really a passion of mine and a passion of yours, which is lawyers struggle getting referrals out of lawyers. They wait for them to happen, or they don't know how to build a relationship. They don't know how to develop things to where it can become more of a regular thing. First of all, why do lawyers struggle getting referrals? Why is that sort of one of the things that they don't do well?
That's a good question. I mean, it could be several reasons. I think probably the main reason is because they just don't think they have the time to ask,
Okay.
or maybe it's their pride. I don't know, but it's most lawyers don't do things because they say I just don't have time. But here's what I tell lawyers: we make time for what's important.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just what it is. It's just not important to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I would say that you're right, but I would add something to it, and that is they don't know how to ask. It's like I don't know how to fish for bass. I do, but let's say I don't, and someone says, "Hey, let's go bass fishing," and I just feel stupid because I don't know how to put a worm on a hook or I don't know anything about it. It's tough. Like you have to learn something to, and most lawyers don't want to, step up and have to maybe go that extra mile when they're busy, or they just don't see it as, maybe they feel like they're just asking for something they haven't, deserved. Maybe they don't know how to give first, reciprocation. There could be a number of reasons.
Yeah, and you just hit on one of my biggest weaknesses that my wife reminds me of is I assume everybody knows what I know. So I just assume people know how to do this, know how to do that, or know what I'm talking about. And I'm working on that. But we all have our flaws, and I think that's one of my biggest flaws is that I just assume that everybody knows how to get on referral from a lawyer. I mean, it's not that
Well,
hard.
but you should have gotten over that a long time ago doing these masterminds. Just like you hear like what they're knowing and what they're not knowing every day.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like a constant reminder to you that, yeah, there's, the business development and the marketing side of the business of law is for most lawyers quite a mystery.
yeah. You're right. You're true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an important one to get over because I think there are a lot of different ways to get business. And if you can find the low hanging fruit, the ones that don't eat up your time and get you better results, better cases, more qualified cases, I think referrals from other attorneys is going to come up at the top of the list.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I remember a long, long time ago, 1982. That's how long ago it's been, over 40 years. When I got out of law school, I went to my hometown, set up shop. I went to every lawyer in the county and went to them and said, listen, I want to pick your brain and I want to let you know if you got anything you don't want to do, some shit case, whatever, I'll do it. I said, I got plenty of time. I just got out of law school, probably going to know more law I ever know in my life. So I'm here to help if you want if you want a referral fee, whatever. But, if you just need me to write a brief, whatever you need, I just need some money. I had a family and I got a lot of business. I mean, but that's just going around asking. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot more sophisticated once you get established. I think there's more of a strategy to it. But I think when you're young and starting out, everybody feels sorry for you. Maybe that was the plot. Maybe that was my.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad approach. If people like you and feel, bad for you, then they throw you stuff. That's one way to go. What's funny, Ken, is I was so desperate for business when I started my company 21 years ago. The way I was networking was I was just buying stuff from people. Like that's how I didn't have anything to give them. So I was like, oh, you do tchotchkes. Okay, I'll buy a bunch of these pens from you. Or I don't have business insurance. Do I need business insurance? They're like, yeah, you need business insurance. I'm like, okay, so I'll go buy some business. So I was spending a lot of money networking instead of because I had to develop the basics to get the business in and to meet people. But anyway, I love that you went out and just asked for help, which is, I think that's an important skill is to not sit quietly and suffer. I think you have to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then what are some things that you figured out then and moving forward and with 40 years behind you of how do lawyers effectively get referrals from other lawyers? What are some of the key components of that?
Well, I think you start with the basis, just like you do with people who hire lawyers. They got to know you, like you, and trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I call it the know, like, trust deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other thing is you got to be a giver, not just a taker. And what I mean by that is, and we've talked about this before. You wrote my podcast. I thought you did a great job. Probably a lot better than I'm going to do today on this. But
Wow.
but really, this book by Cialdini talks about reciprocity. And I preach this to my lawyers that I coach and they're my mastermind. Go there with the idea that you're going to help that person. And 50% of them are going to help you back. 50% of them probably won't, but you're still doing a good thing, And so I like to say, let's go have lunch. There's a book out there called Never Eat Alone. You got to eat lunch anyway, at least once or twice a week. Go set up a lunch with somebody, sit down and talk to them. And I always try to find something in common or something, take an interest in them. People especially lawyers love to talk about themselves. So let them talk. And then instead of saying, hey, I want referrals, say, do you take referrals? And what is like your ideal client? I don't want to send you shit, but what is like your favorite clients? Da da da. And is there anything else that you're having problems? I'm pretty good at business, or anything, any challenge you have. If I can help, if not, maybe I can find somebody that can help you. It might not be you helping. I connect a lot of people now.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. Like, I got lawyers asking me about local service ads. I don't really know all that intricacies, but I got 2 or 3 guys that do, and I say talk to these people because they're like gurus. So if you can help people like doing that, and then they want to be reciprocal and most of them, not all of them, and try to help you back. And how can they help you back? They say, yeah, that's great, man. What can I do for you? Well, I do PI, and I love to get more PI cases. I really like motor vehicle cases, or I really like, dog bite cases, whatever kind of cases you like. But I'll take them all. But these are the kind I really like, and I'm willing to pay a referral fee, if you are. And then sometimes, I used to refer out a lot of domestic criminal. I never asked for fees back, but if they sent me a case, I would pay them a referral fee because our fees are a lot bigger generally. So, but I think this whole reciprocity deal is like kind of like what you said before. You give people what they want, they'll help you get what you want. It's that old saying.
Yeah, and I think Ken, it's a misnomer that we have to go out and give business to people. Look, if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, their expectations that I'm going to give them a case should be nothing, because first of all, I'm not a lawyer to give cases, and number two is, the likelihood that I'm going to run into a PI case, maybe 1 or 2 in a year might be the max I'm going to have, right? So I think we have to think outside the box with, yes, if I have a case and I want to give it to you and I know you well enough to feel comfortable doing it, great. But I think we also need to think about who are the connectors, right? Who are the connectors for PI attorneys, right? That could be estate planners, that could be criminal attorneys, that could be, the list goes on and on of people who are more likely to be asked about who do you know than just a random corporate attorney, for example. What are some other things that we can do for others that allow us to be reciprocal and start off on the right foot so that we can then maybe make the ask on the back end with a little more confidence?
Oh, that's a good question. Are you talking that when you meet with them, or are you talking about even before you meet?
No, I mean, when you meet with somebody. So I'm meeting with you and I don't have a case for you, and maybe I don't even have a lawyer for you that I could introduce. I would, of course, but let's say in this hypothetical, I'm thinking like having you on my podcast, Ken, and you having me on yours, or maybe I'm including you in a panel because I run these panels with Financial Poise, which is like Westlaw and Thomson Reuters, and I create these panels and I include lawyers, that I think would fill these panels. And so like they're getting in front of hundreds or thousands of people. I'm the one in charge of that. And so that's another value add. I mean, there's more than one ways to skin a cat. And so I'm just asking if there are some other thoughts on what you would recommend there.
I mean, just what I said. I mean, trying to find out, what their challenges are, or just talking with them, you might find out that their kids want to be a great baseball player, and they really having trouble hitting the curveball.
Yeah.
I got this guy I know that really helped my kid.
Yeah.
Let me give you his number. Something like that. It's got nothing to do with law per se, but it's you're giving, like you say, you're giving value. You're connecting people, even if you don't know how to teach a kid how to hit a curveball.
Right, but the point is like you're connecting dots, you're making efforts. I think that's the thing that people aren't understanding is that you have to look at making an effort and you're not out to sell anyone. You're out there to add value and to help others, and that allows for the reciprocation, to your point, to happen more naturally.
Yeah, I mean it's you got to go with the mindset that you're given with no expectation. Well, maybe not no, but not 100% expectation that you're going to get received back. But it's okay because you're still doing a good thing. And like I said, you got to eat somewhere anyway, right? And,
right.
And you never know. You just never know. And I think the other thing is too, like once you leave them, and you brought out something great on my podcast was about kind of vetting them, make sure that they're referable. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I think that's important too, because worst thing you can do is refer somebody to a shitty lawyer
yeah.
or somebody that give good client service. I mean, I had this rule when I did it. I tell the people, like, listen, my clients are used to getting called back the same day and being treated, with utmost respect. And if you can't do that, I understand it, but I can't refer you cases. And I actually quit. I called a lawyer up. My client called me. The one I referred called me and said he was just very rude. He get called me back the next day and he was rude like I was. I just called a lawyer up and I said, listen, I can't see any more cases. He was surprised. He said, I don't want that, man. I said, listen, I told you, man. I said, my clients they've been spoiled. I mean, we spoiled them when we had them. I mean, I had a rule that all the staff and the lawyers, you would put grandma at the end of the sentence. If you wouldn't talk to your grandmother like that, you don't talk to our clients like that.
I
Well,
love that. I love
and,
that.
and I stole that from a guy named Jeffrey Gittimer from
Oh
Charlotte.
yeah, sure. Jeffrey Gittimer.
Yeah,
Was that Little Red Book of Selling?
yeah,
Classic. Classic.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
I did that 20 something years ago. Probably.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Wow. It's like a flash from the past, Jeffrey Gittimer. The
Yeah,
other thing that so I do talk about qualifying to make sure that a lawyer is referable. The other thing that I like to qualify is this is a sentence I teach my clients, and I think it's money. It's absolute money. You sneak this question in at the end of the end of like an initial or second coffee meeting or lunch meeting with someone, and you say, just out of curiosity, how often in a given year are you running into XYZ cases? Just is that happening all the time, that often? If they say, I haven't seen a case like that in 10 years, that might be a disqualifier that, hey, you can still make a friend and help somebody, but to spend a lot more time with that person who's never going to run into your stuff may
yeah,
make less sense than someone who says, oh, 10, 20 times a year, probably. I mean, then you're really understanding, hey, this person has the goods and I have to stay friendly and on their radar, and I got to reciprocate and take care of them because there's a good amount of opportunity here.
yeah. And I think the other thing too is if they get qualified, they do have a lot of cases that they can send you, and you do make that connection. I think once they send you a case, I always sent handwritten thank you notes. And I would try, once I developed that relationship, I didn't do it with everybody, but if they sent me more than two cases, I would either call or get my secretary to call their secretary and find out who was your favorite ball team, what's their favorite,
Mm-hmm.
do they like cigars, whatever. I mean, what's their favorite hobby, what's their favorite sports team. And I
Yeah.
would send them stuff like I'd send them a bottle of whiskey, I'd send them a bottle of wine, I'd send them tickets to the Bulls game. You got Jordan behind you. If they were in Chicago, I'd send them two tickets to the Bulls game or something. And just showing them that I'm thinking of them and that I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Uh, staying top of mind too is very important. It's important for lawyers and for your past clients. If you don't stay in front of them, I like every 2 or 3 months I like to do something. And I also set up a thing, Google alerts with their name in it and
Mm-hmm.
something good. I want to know if something good happened, but also if something bad happened, I want to know. They won't keep referring to somebody that was being, indicted or investigated or bar complaint. So,
Right, right.
but really did it start with about good stuff, so I could send them a card or or an email, even just an email. Hey, saw you got this award. Congratulations.
But I think that takes us full circle back to what you said at the very beginning, which is having processes for things. And one process that lacks with most attorneys is a process for keeping in touch and following up. Most lawyers that I know don't have a CRM. They don't have a system in place that can automate and personalize emails and newsletters and things to go out to people to stay in touch and to send gifts or to send thank you cards or to send birthday gifts or whatever it might be. Do you talk about that in your groups? Is that something that you preach pretty regularly?
Yeah, I mean, and they got real sophisticated ones, and they got real, simple ones. Some what is it, chimp, monkey chimp, or whatever it's called,
Oh, Mailchimp.
Mailchimp,
Yeah.
to keep. We use Keep at Pilma. Very sophisticated. You can segment your list. You can set it to send out stuff a year in advance. I mean, you can You can grade people, like this would be a 3 versus a 1, so this person gets these types of gifts.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they do all types of things.
Not everybody's created equal as it relates to follow up and it relates to investing money. So your A referral source should get, stuff up here, and someone you haven't talked to in 5 years that sent you one thing 5 years ago for $1,000, maybe they're down here. Doesn't mean we don't keep in touch, but it's not the same level of intensity.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I used to do this for my past clients too. All the people that refer big cases, they had a bar rule in North Carolina. You could not, quid pro quo. You couldn't give somebody, couldn't share fees, or couldn't give somebody money, pay for a referral. But what I would do is just say, okay, 4 times a year I'm sending out gifts, and I graded them, 1, 2, 3, and
Yeah.
the ones had given me over 3 referrals in the last 12 months. Or I can't remember, maybe it was 5, and then the twos, maybe 3 or 4, maybe it was, I can't remember. But the deal, it don't really matter. The deal is you grade them up, and I had certain gifts I would give to past clients because I did not try to keep up with what their best teams were. It's just too many of them. Because I'd probably get probably 40 cases a month, referrals from past clients.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot, but we did do that. We did send birthday cards. We did send holiday cards. We sent Valentine's cards. I sent them, we love referrals. And I sent my clients, we love our clients.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Be my Valentine. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be, we love you.
Yeah.
Hey man, let's wrap up, Ken, with the with your game-changing book. We already talked about a couple books, but this one I'd never heard of before. Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. I'm assuming he had some good habits.
Yeah, it's a book about John Rockefeller, but it's by Vern Harnish. Vern Harnish, I think, is one of the most, when it comes to scaling a business, probably one of the smartest guys I've ever met. He mentored me for many years. He spoke at my event. This was his first book. He did another book called Scaling Up, but it's really like the 10 things you need to do. And each 10 habits got 3 or 4 things underneath you need to check. If you do all these things, you're going to kill it. I mean, it took me 2.5 years to get through all 30, well, maybe 40 items. So it's a process, but the deal is, then you'll have a sellable business. I promise you. We talked about that at the beginning, so we're going to end up with the same thing.
We come full circle. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, as we're wrapping up, want to just take a moment to thank our sponsors, the Law Her podcast. My friend Sonia hanging out and doing great work over there at with Rankings.io, and PIMCon's coming up. That's Chris Streyer's baby, and get ready to go from good to goat. PIMCon's back in October 5th through 8th. I think you can go and get on the wait list if you go to pimcon.org and check that out. Ken, if people want to hear more about your mastermind groups and PILMA, what are the best ways for them to reach you?
It's info@pilma.org, pilmma.org.
All right, and that's an email that they can send something out to say, hey, give me more information?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Listen, this is your second time on my show. It was a long time ago I had you on, and I'm kicking myself I didn't have you on more recently, but as always, a pleasure. I mean, you're just a wealth of knowledge. You know your stuff better, backwards and forwards. And so I just appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom, man.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for spending time with Ken and I today on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are here to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We will talk again soon.